Hi quilting friends, welcome back to my channel Straight Stitching and welcome to week 4 of the Around the Block quilt series. Today we're going to be working on a pinwheel, well, a half square triangle pinwheel block. And we're going to be making the half square triangles 4 at a time. So we're going to take 2 fairly large pieces of fabric and we're going to, from this one piece of fabric, create 4 half square triangles that we will then form into the pinwheel. So hopefully you enjoy today's series. You're going to need 2 pieces of fabric that measure 10 1/4 inches squared. So go ahead and get your fabric and we will get started. If you haven't already done so, please take a look at the show notes. As we are on week 4, that means there's 3 weeks behind us. Our first week we worked on the 4 patch with a variation, and that was a 4 patch block that contained 2 4 patches within the one. Week 2 we worked on a 9 patch block, and then last week we worked on the courthouse steps block. So I'm very excited to get started with week 4. Okay, so now that you have your 2 pieces of fabric that measure 10 1/4 inch by 10 1/4 inch, you want to make sure you line them up with right sides facing each other. And then we're going to sew all around this block or this square with a 1/4 inch seam on all 4 sides. So let me get my fabric lined up here. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, so for this block, we have our 2 pieces of fabric that are 10 1/4 inch squared. And again, we're going to sew along all 4 sides using a 1/4 inch seam. Our ultimate goal today is to create 4 half square triangles that measure 6 1/2 inches squared. So this is why we're starting with a 10 1/4 inch squared. I do have a link and information on my website that can tell you, based on the size of the final 1/2 inch square triangle that you're trying to make, the different size pieces that you need to start with to do the 4 at a time method. So I'm going to just go ahead and get started. This method is a little bit forgiving because ultimately we're going to be trimming up our half square triangle. So don't worry if you don't have everything absolutely perfect. So once you have that completed, you're going to take your material and you're going to cut diagonal to diagonal. So let me line this up so we can see what we're doing here. Okay, so we can see that. And you can see I cut my fabric into, I didn't cut it together, so there's slightly not the same size, but again, that doesn't matter entirely for this block because we are going to trim up the half square triangles. Okay, so we're going to cut corner to corner. It's helpful if you have a mat that can spin so you don't have to lift the material and potentially move it and get it out of alignment. Okay, so we have 4 half square triangles. You can see that here. I'm going to press them and then we'll come back and trim them to 6 1/2 inches squared. I need to change my blade. Okay, so we have 4 half square triangles here, and now we're going to trim them each to 6.5 inches square. And I'm just, oh great, this one. I was looking to see if I have a 6.5 inch ruler, and I do, so that is going to be great. Okay, good. So what you want to do is line your ruler up. There's a 45-degree diagonal. You want to line that up on the diagonal of your 1/2 inch square triangle or your half square triangle. And then because this is a 6.5 inch ruler, this is going to make the trimming for this particular HST very easy, because I'm just going to line it up and then cut all around. But I will show you how to trim your HST if you don't have a ruler that's the exact size of the HST that you're going for. But let me do this one first, and then I'll show you how to trim with a ruler that may be larger than what you're actually going for. This just makes it super easy when it's the same size. Okay, so again, we're trimming to 6.5 inches squared. So let's assume I don't have a ruler that is the exact size. So what I will do is take a ruler, a larger ruler, and again, you're going to line the 45-degree angle, the 45-degree line on your HST, and then you want to trim just a sliver off so that you can create a corner with straight edges. And again, it helps if you have a mat that rotates, but it's not entirely necessary. Okay, so now you can see that I have one corner that has 2 straight edges. And so now what I would do is just take my ruler, again, lining up the 45-degree line on my 45-degree line of the HST. And then you want to line up the block such that it is 6.5 inches. Okay. So basically, hopefully you can see that, but I have lined up the 6.5 inch line on both sides of the block with the 6.5 inch line on the ruler. So here's 6.5 inches is lined up with this edge, and then going in the other direction, I'm at 6.5 inches and it's lined up on the bottom edge. Okay. And so from there you would just trim off the excess material. Okay, so this is a 6.5 inch half square triangle that was trimmed with a 10-inch ruler. Now I'm going to go back to the 6.5 inch ruler just to make this. Okay, so now that the trimming is done, we can form our HST pinwheel. Oh, it's a little difficult to see. Okay. not working out so well. I will readjust the camera. Just piece the blocks together. So from here, it's essentially just a 4-patch. So we're gonna just go ahead and I will stitch the top 2 pieces together, the bottom 2, and then sew them together to complete the entire block. And as with everything that we're working on for this series, and actually for most quilts, unless otherwise stated, we're gonna go ahead and use the 1/4" seam. Here is our HST pinwheel block. Thank you for joining me for week 4 of our Around the Block quilt series. Next week we'll be working on a friendship star, so that will be pretty cool. So that will be the first star block that we worked on together. Again, the point of this series is to really help beginners to work on some of the basic blocks that you will see in just about any traditional and often a lot of modern quilts. Our goal is to create 12 different blocks, and if you have a copy of the tracker that is available in the show notes, you'll be able to see the next blocks that we'll be making in this series. So again, next week is the Friendship Star block, and we'll continue on until we have all 12 blocks pieced, at which point we'll work together to piece them together to create a one-of-a-kind quilt based on, you know, all of your different fabric selections. So that is one thing that you might want to keep in mind as we're going through this series, whether you ultimately want your quilt to be more cohesive, so meaning colors that match and play off of each other, or if you're going for a more scrappy feel, in which case, you know, anything goes. Mine is going to be more of a scrappy feel, so feel free to just join along and grab whatever fabric you have available. But again, thanks for joining for week 4, and I look forward to seeing you in week 5.